What if I were to suggest that you play a key role in the awakening world? And that you are watching this because you have heard the call. We can start right now by opening our hearts and minds. Welcome to the awakening world.
Good evening, everybody. I am Love Coach Scott Katamas, and I am honored to be your co-host for the Awakening World. Welcome, everybody. It's great to see a lot of our regular friends in the chat box and in the Zoom room, and let us know where you are geographically. It's always fun to see all the different places and people that are with us. And I want to thank John and Summer Raymer, who I just had dinner with 2 nights ago. They run the Sign Network, which gets us out to as many as 100 Facebook groups and pages. So thank you. Also, tonight is the first night that we are now on a new broadcast partner. So welcome anybody who are watching this on the Conscious Awakening Network, also known as CAN. If you are watching this on YouTube or Facebook or CAN, I want to invite you to come on into our Zoom room. And that's where we can directly interact with you. And we have a lot of interaction on this show. And really, I want to invite you to join the Global Peace Tribe itself. And it's really easy to do that. Just go to globalpeacetribe.com, globalpeacetribe.com, and register. You see this little link right down here. You click that link, and that's going to take you to the registration page. We do 3 or 4 shows every weekend, every Friday night, and that's what this show is, of course, and there's the poster for tonight. Tomorrow night, we're doing a whole show on the science and the art of love. And we've got a world-class teacher with us, Dr. Rulin Hugh, who's quite well known, and her entire her key teachers are all coming with her. And that's going to be a very powerful collaboration with the Global Coherence Pulse. And on Sunday, we've got 2 amazing women that have just written books all about ancient goddess wisdom. So that's this weekend. And when you register, you're going to get the links to all of our shows for the rest of the year. So come join the Global Peace Tribe. We're an amazing group of people, as you're going to get to find out. And I want to just really say I'm excited. I woke up this morning when my first thought was, Trish is going to be on the show again. And this is my dear friend, Trish, who I did the show with for 2 years before she rode off into the sunset. But she's back for a special show tonight. And she's brought a really cool friend of hers, her friend Nika. So we've got a new friend to meet tonight as we talk about a really important topic: overcoming, managing shame and jealousy. So, yeah, that's what we're going to be talking about. So it's going to be mostly Trisha and Nika. I'll just ask a few questions, but we always love to start with music. And yes, we are blessed that our house musical artist, the wonderful Oshar, is with us. Good evening, brother.
Good evening, namaste, and welcome everybody. And I'm excited too for tonight. I got some stuff I need to get over. So let's take a few deep breaths and bring ourselves into the center. Let go of all expectations and let's roll this. And Roger, are you ready? You are. Good. Yay. So where are we going there? We are in here. We're good. All right. Please show me how to reach you. Strip me down. Let go my mind. I was naked and blind. Finding it harder holding on to what's gone. Then there's the future. What if we never get that far? I know it may sound crazy if I say not much is real. So tell me inside, how do you feel? And this is the time to break the mold of the old and dysfunctional way we have lived our lives so far. And how much longer can we hold on to that which tears us apart? So free up your mind, open your heart. La, da, 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 da. No longer can we hold on to that which tears us apart. So free up your mind, open your heart. Finally free from self-disguise. I rise from the ashes of the me I used to know. You know that I am a dreamer, and I would like you to see that I am dreaming a new reality. Please show me how to reach you and strip me down, let go my mind. I was naked and blind.
Wow, thank you, beloved brother Bushar. That's a perfect song. Oh,
Yes, again, the song fairies picked it for me, and you know, so much of shame and guilt and everything is just, you gotta, how longer can we hold on to this that is tearing us apart? And you know, we've maintained it, and no longer I'm over it. And so that's the passion in this song.
It's a perfect song for tonight's theme. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, I am going to bring on beloved Trish to kind of talk a little bit about the theme of the show and then to introduce Nika. Welcome, Trish.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Something that has been coming up, Scott, and maybe you can speak to it as well, is that there's in my client work, I'm having a lot of people come up with a lot of jealousy, insecurities, and a lot of juicy shame stuff. And what I've been noticing is that as it creeps into the colder, darker months, that it's starting to get a lot bigger and a lot more rawr. And one of the things that I wanted to bring in was giving people an opportunity to have a little Love Coach Scott and have a little Nika Sherelle, because I know that Nika is an expert on shame. I'll tell you why. and, and really just bring in this piece of how to overcome shame, because I think that it's time to now is the time right now to deal with what is underneath all of that shame and let it unfold.
Guilt.
Let me introduce Nika. Nika is the owner of the House of Sherelle, the host of the It Cast's Real Talk on Sex, and a personal empowerment coach specializing in health and sexuality. They empower and inspire people all across cultural backgrounds, and by breaking down taboo, aiming to create a world where we all feel loved, honored, and respected. They sit on the board of the Grateful Garment Project. Their work has been featured in the San Francisco AIDS Foundation, Soma Arts, Cultural Center, and in Math Magazine, Bitch Magazine, OZY, Slate, and Cosmopolitan. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Oh my God, I'm so glad to be here. This is incredible. This is an incredible topic and so very important. I'm really honored to be a part of this conversation, and I love that you mentioned shame and juiciness. It's like inside of that space is the opportunity for healing and wholeness. And so to be with and in that space and to be able to find the love and the power there is just so beautiful. So I'm honored to be here, and thank you for having me.
Well, I met Nika at their shame workshop. So, do I know that I would love to have a conversation with two people that I deeply adore. So thank you.
All right, so let's get into it. I do believe that shame is the great human epidemic. And as a coach, I've worked with a lot of people, probably well over 1,000. And almost always our greatest challenges are connected to our shame, whatever we have shame about. I'm too fat, I'm too thin, I'm not smart enough, I'm not rich enough, I'm not old enough, I'm too old. All the different I am stories that have negative self-talk. And I'm sure everybody watching has something, and if you don't, congratulations, that's awesome. But most of us still have things that we have shame around. And just a quick reminder on definition, guilt is when we feel bad about something we've done. Shame is when we feel bad about ourselves, who we are as a being. So as we're working tonight, just let's all kind of do some self-inventory. Where do I have shame that there's something fundamentally wrong with who I am? And of course, in love coaching, we don't believe there's anything wrong with anybody. There's just really tough human challenges, and that's Trish and my approach with love coaching. And Nika, I'd love to hear you riff on what I just had to say.
Yes, thank you. In my world, just the same, it's about empowerment, removing stigma, really, really allowing us to be in the spaces in our bodies and ourselves and our lives where we feel complete and whole. I love, when you said, the I am statements. They're so deeply powerful, and they color our experience of ourselves, how we move through the world, what we choose to own and what we don't, what we set aside. So in my practice, I have a lot of opportunities for forgiving the self and affirming the self and bringing us back to whole and completeness. So yeah, I focus on empowering people and helping them heal from shame.
Beautiful. Just on the subject of I am, as a coach, I always am giving people I am affirmations. And it's really, whenever we say I am and then fill in the blank, that's powerful. I am is the closest in the English language to Om and to the original vibration of creation. And if you read even the original first words of the Bible in Aramaic, it's basically saying that the Big Bang happened when existence became aware of itself, and that I am was the first thought. I am was and remember Moses asks God, the burning bush, who are you? And the answer is, I am that I am. Now, I'm not getting religious here, but I'm just using a couple of cultural contexts that some of us might be familiar with to just emphasize the power of I am. There's an immediate comment I'd like to get Nika and Trisha's.
I want to go into something first before we answer that. I see it.
You got it.
So one of the things that I've been studying for a little while is how we became separated from our wholeness or separated from each other. And that really comes down to sort of the systems at play, let's say. And it's not just like this one, but like, let's go way, 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 way back to where we are now separate from God. Mm-hmm. I'm going to use this like, there's certain, structures of power within history. I'm not going to give you exact history dates or details because I don't have all that stored in my brain, but I think and we can go through historical points and see where we become separate from God when we bring in shame, that we are bad and wrong for our natural desires, and God will punish us for that. That's how we start to separate ourselves from our own ness. And, if you've heard me talk at all, you've heard me talk about my ness or your ness, which would be like your Nika-ness or your Scott-ness or your uniqueness. It's the essence of who you are, right? So your ness is your desires, the things that call to you. And when you become punished, or when you become forced to conform to the society's rules, is when we start to make up stories about that we're bad and wrong. Because some of us and our ancestors have been literally beaten and murdered for that.
Yeah.
So then it passed down for generations. And then we get to this point where I'm, I can't be gender nonconforming and wear fingernails and look femme. Like, we become shamed for our desires for connection and touch and like the trueness of what we want, right? Mm-hmm. So that's a little bit of how it starts. Again, there's other systems, but that's one tidbit.
Can I just piggyback really, really quick?
Absolutely. You're the star of the show, Nika.
Oh, glad to be here. So this reminds me, that I am the creative spark. So in my workshop, Releasing Sexual Shame, A Pathway to Freedom, we create a grounding inside of the I am statements. So I offer a formatting. We create a list. And we create all of the things that like anyone's ever said, the best things about you, the best parts, the things that you don't let in. And then we phrase them, I know I am, to really like grind that in and bring that like level of solidification. Because it's not just like, yes, I am that thing, but also I know that I am that thing. I know that I am powerful. I know that I'm strong. I know that I'm beautiful. Even when at times, because of my shame, I can't accept that, or I can't allow that to sink in. So really just owning it. Like, I know this about me and it's real.
Beautiful. Right on. Yeah. And really, I tend to believe that the fall from grace was when we went from living in a state of oneness and a state of knowing our divinity into the illusion of separation. And it's cool that we're living in a time now where we're coming back into the oneness from so many different angles, so many different philosophical, metaphysical, spiritual ways of seeing it, and scientific. We've done many shows on this format about science and spirituality and how they're coming together. I love interacting with our audience. We've got a beautiful audience, very core. And Sylvia, who's one of our wonderful regulars, we love Sylvia, wrote something quite vulnerable, and I'd love to see if you all could address it. Sylvia writes, "Shame for me is a sense that my existence is a mistake. I am especially interested in nonverbal, pre-verbal practices for healing shame conditioning."
Mm. Wow, yeah. So just that first part to begin, my existence is a mistake. I think that in our in our sense of selves can happen at a very, very young age. I know for me, being born in a Black body and being overweight, and I'm below 5 feet, things like that, I lived in a world that constantly told me that I wasn't supposed to exist, or even with existing, I wasn't supposed to enjoy life, have a good, relationship partner, home, whatever it was, because of these circumstances. So that existence being a mistake, not meaning to exist, can come from so many things. And I love this question. Nonverbal, pre-verbal practices around healing shame conditioning. One of the things that comes to mind outside of the affirmations is to actually be with oneself. There is, there are, so like being able to meditate, but then also mirror work is what's coming to mind, like actually sitting and being with yourself, looking into a mirror and shining and like giving yourself that love and acceptance and bringing yourself in. You can speak if you want to, and also just to be able to like look and see yourself, how beautiful you are and how whole and complete you are is really, really profound. Yeah, so I highly recommend that one. And I don't know that I can think of another good one, but if I do, I'll pop it back in. Trish, do you have any?
Mhm. I love what you said about that I am a mistake piece. The first thing that always comes to my mind is, who taught you that?
Mm-hmm.
Who taught you that? Because we're taught language through someone else's perspective. And I don't know about you, but I have a couple people in my head from very, very early on who taught me about who I am through their language. So one part is, who taught you that? That's what I often is like when someone says to me, or when I hear a chattery like thing, and I'm like, wait a second, who taught me that? And the thing that offers me is an opportunity to find empathy for that person as well, or those people, right? It's like, who taught me that? God, I mean, I don't have all of them written, but you know the common ones. Everyone's got the same ones. Oh, I'm too whatever, or not enough, or that whatever. You fill in the blank. I've got those too. I'm sure. Yeah. And one of the things about the nonverbal or pre-verbal practice, and I love this question, because a few years ago when I was really hitting some deep core trauma stuff that I hadn't dealt with, I didn't even know was there, it occurred to me that no amount of talk therapy could really work it out, right? Mm-hmm. And it really does live in the body. Like the body does keep the score. I don't know if you've read this book, but yes, that's very true. And it lives in our aches and pains, and it lives in the way that I live in my body, or my anxiousness, or my clients in the way that they address the world or even walk in the world. And so one of my favorite tools to deal with shame is my favorite tool to deal with fear,
Mm.
to shake, the trauma shaking, right? And what that offers you an opportunity to do, I'll guide us in a second, is to really relax the nervous system. So animals will shake out cortisol and adrenaline from the body. Humans used to, we just don't do that anymore. So one of the ways to shake out, like let's say you've got the shame, you've got the thing coming up, your body's all, "Oh," and your stomach's all, "Oh," and the brain's all, "Oh," give yourself an opportunity to start either shaking at any point, whether your hands, your body, your sacrum, your feet, and just give it a good shake. And do this for as long as you can, and then 2 more minutes. And then this coupled with tapping is excellent.
Mhm.
Because you're relaxing the nervous system, you're getting back in, you're moving through what is there, the cortisol and adrenaline, and then you're retraining your brain and your body to really access these points of moving forward.
Beautiful.
That
Thank you
was
both.
really-
Thank you both for what you've said so far. I would suggest also for anybody, and this kind of is riffing on what Trish was talking about, when we have a story that deep that my existence is a mistake, like Trish said, somebody taught you that, and it's not true. Your existence is precious. I know how important, Celia, you are to me. Kristen Hoffman adores you. My God, you start her every Sunday class you do with her is so precious. I would encourage you to maybe find a hypnotherapist who can take you back in time to your pre-verbal time and where you first got that story, because it probably came really early. I worked with an amazing hypnotherapist who actually took me back to the point of my own conception. And it was amazing. I was in the hotel room where my mother and father were having sex and making love and making me. I knew what my father was thinking. I knew what my mother was thinking. I could smell them. It was so vivid. And it really informed me a lot about what my perceived meaning of my life was, which was to save my parents' marriage. And I don't want to make it about me, but I'm just sharing that story because it's powerful. A good hypnotherapist can take you back and you could see where that story came into your consciousness. It may have come from a thought from your mother. It might have been a remark that somebody made. Who knows? But it's not true. But when we go back and we see where it first started, then we can take the steps to release that self-concept. So, and Trish is actually somebody, if you'd be willing to tackle that, is somebody who could do that. So Trish, I'll let you take over and talk a little bit about what I was just, or move on with anything you want to share.
Well, I was just going to say, I am a trained hypnotist, and that was one of the things that helped me in some of the big traumas in my life around sexual challenges and the R words. That one I don't want to blow everyone without a trigger warning. And yes, getting into the subconscious or the unconscious where we're running without knowing is really those places of like, why am I still doing this pattern? Like, why is it still here? And again, if it's in your language, if it's pre-verbal, if it's in your infancy, that there's other ways to work through it as well. And Scott, I love that you brought up hypnosis. I also am a big fan of something that I know how to do, like the program that I'm completing in a few weeks, is like embodied gestalt, where you actually move your body without words and express out and meet those things that are happening. It's a really powerful technique, and it really gives you an opportunity to like lift it from your body to fully complete it and integrate it.
We've got another question, so I'm going to bring Nika on and turn it over to the two of you. This is from Dorina, our friend down in Ecuador, and she writes, with most negative emotions, we tend to forget that there are healthy versions of them. I found this quote to be quite interesting. Quote, healthy shame is an emotion that teaches us about our limits. Like all emotions, shame moves us to get our basic needs met. And that's from James Bradshaw. So Dorina's question is, can you share effective ways to transform toxic shame into healthy shame?
That's a beautiful question. Thank you, Dorina. One of the things that I share with people is like moving through the emotions and moving past the shame. So shame is a teaching mechanism, and it can come from outside, it can come from inside. And typically when we're experiencing shame-based teaching growing up, it's the things outside that are telling you that you're wrong. However, when you do something and you experience that you're having a response of shame, like the quote says, that's showing you your limits, that's actually you teaching yourself what works and what doesn't. So I would say, let's see, effective ways to transform toxic shame into healthy shame. Yeah, that being with it, sitting with it, and that learning what's there to teach you, like paying attention to what's there that's actually there to like show you what you need to do. So for myself, if I'm going into an experience and I've got a little warning light, like, don't be here, this isn't safe, instead of going through that and saying, okay, well, just ignoring that, it's like, let me step back and assess and do something about my personal safety. So really just like looking at not feeling bad about needing to feel safe, not feeling bad about anything. Yeah, and again, I'm sure Trish, you've probably got more to say on this one, but just discovering what's there to teach you, getting the good nuggets.
I barely have anything to add. Really though, slow down. Just slow down. I love what I just want to say that I love what you said about kind of not, I'm going to rephrase it, but not doing the things that it doesn't feel right to do. And this takes you slowing down. This takes you getting in your body and practicing when you're not triggered. This takes slow down. Notice what do I feel here? What does my gut tell me? Like, what's the dissonance, the negative, positive, like the things that are competing in your head. What is that? And actually look at those things, slow down, meet it. Because when toxic shame, so if I was to like toxically shame Nika, which I won't, you got enough of that. I'm not interested. If I were, what is it about? And who's it coming from? Right? So the internal shame, which if it's coming from the outside coming in, right? The shame from another person's perspective, then that's theirs, right? Now, if it's coming from me, it's an access point to your values and your wants and needs, just like you say. Again, I don't have anything constructive more to say, just in a different way. But really, it's that. Slow down and really check in with your body. Is this what I want to be doing? Is it the kind of cool excitement, or is it the, this is not okay for my body? And really honor your own boundaries. Honor someone else's boundaries. And if you mess up, step up to accountability.
Beautiful.
I have a couple of other thoughts too. Is when we've identified a shame story that we're running, what is the secondary gain of running that story? Right? Because oftentimes we adopt a story and that becomes our identification. And often we have certain needs that are met by that story. Oh, I'm not capable, therefore somebody else will take care of me. Oh, I'm not good enough, therefore I don't have to try so hard. Oh, I can't do that, so I don't have to worry about failing. So these are some simple examples of the secondary gain of holding on to a story that, from an objective point of view, is not life affirming, but has some way of supporting our smaller self.
Yeah.
Where we could be like, I need to take rest, and now's not the time for me to push. Or instead of participating in the I'm not good enough. I don't have the whatever to do this. Instead of just being like, I'm tired. I'm gonna take nurture me. Again, did you see how it is? It just gets a little like there.
Yeah, that like negative affirmation, and it gets you off the hook. And you were saying, like, it gets you off the hook for your life. So that you can, like, instead of being able to just make the powerful request, as you were saying, Trisha, like that's huge. In one of the development programs I did, they called that a racket, where you've got like the candy store up front and then whatever the racket is in the back. So it's like, I'm not good enough when actually I want to sit here and eat potato chips and watch Netflix. Like, and so it keeps us in this space, like you were saying, of being small and not really wanting to realize and own our own potential, which then further deepens and drives the shame because you're not living up to who you want to be. And then you're shaming yourself for being small. So feeling small and allowing that to have you be small. Yeah.
I want to read a few of the comments that have come in. These are a couple of ones that were older. Our good friend Jeffrey Colbrook writes, science says if you were not here, the whole universe would disappear. I love that. Susan, earlier when you were talking, Trish, about working with a mirror, she said, sit with a mirror and look at yourself, ? And then later she wrote, I found that type of work is very good. And then Mary Beth writes, we absorb our mother's thoughts, feelings, and experiences while we are in utero. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And then again, Jeffrey writes, Lovolution, which is acceptance of where we are and moving in the direction of growth, is the solution. Thank you, Jeffrey.
I'd love to move to make the connection of shame and jealousy. And I'm not going to say the common belief is that jealousy is from insecurities. While that is true a lot of the time, that there's other places where jealousy comes from. Jealousy comes from needs not being whether we're projecting it out onto someone else. I'm lonely and you're not meeting my need for touch and connection, Mika.
Oh, uh-oh.
and you're meeting that with someone else. Oh.
Uh-oh.
So I'd love to just move this, the connection between shame and jealousy, the connection between shame and insecurities, and the connection between shame and our deepest desires. Just love to riff on that.
Oh my goodness. Juicy. When I saw the topic of shame and jealousy for the talk tonight, I was like, wow, like so powerful to put those two things together. Oftentimes when we are feeling ashamed, it's because we're making a comparison. We're comparing ourselves to someone else. We're comparing ourselves to whoever said what, to the image that's in our head. And it keeps us in that space of like not having enough, not feeling good enough, not keeping up with the Joneses sort of situation. And it can be really, really startling to be able to move beyond those normative paradigms. Jealousy tells us that we're going to lose out. Like this thing that we're holding on to, there won't be enough of it and you can't have any. And that in itself, drives fear, and all these things tie together. So just yeah, in the riffing space, it was really yummy to see that. And I'm sure I have a lot more shame I can share around jealousy.
Jazzy.
Brought in the piece about
Hey,
I love when the animals come in, which mine did just a moment ago. Bringing in the piece of the comparison. Again, going way back to the very beginning of the show, it's like, where did we learn that, and how many generations back do we have to learn where the comparison begins? Who taught us that? And why are we being taught that we A, can't ask directly for what we want and need, and B, why is our natural inkling, our natural desires being shamed? And I don't know if you know, but if you repress things, then the repression sort of, there's a word for it and I'm missing it right now already. It like pushes it down to where it explodes and makes it into this really weird, distorted thing. This is, when your sexuality is shut down as a child or as a youth, the likelihood that you start to fetishize from that point of child attraction and become an adult attracted to children is pretty highly likely. It's like 67% of people have trauma 67% of pedophiles have trauma from early childhood. That's how it starts. So when we're talking about shame and jealousy, we're talking about getting needs met. We're talking about finding our own inner center, finding out what we're really wanting and what we're really truly who we are, and celebrating that and being able to show up and be like, hey, I want this, and maybe you're not the right person, or it's not the right time to get head scratches from Scott, or or puppy dog kisses. Then maybe it's a time to ask for it for later, or call a friend, right? I just totally ventured there.
Well, so looking at what you were saying though about the cycle of trauma and how many generations does this go back, the first thing I want to say is that it's an ecosystem.
Yes.
The entire space, like what trauma and abuse and the R word, those things, what they look like has a huge impact, and it's an ecosystem of experiences. So the likelihood that only one person was being abused in their childhood versus several inside of a family unit, or even just a neighborhood or any other network, it's an ecosystem. There's going to be a harm that's then transferred to another and another and another because of the inability to process these things, especially at such a young and formative age. In addition to that, oh gosh, there was that other thing you said that was so good. So in the comments, we were there was a comment that said we absorb things while we're in our mother's womb. And so that kind of conversation, it's so real. The things that your mother went through, how stressed she was during her pregnancy or during her life, what the fears and a number of things are, those are passed down. And when you look at conversations around epigenetics and like certain behavioral patterns that are completely taught, like we didn't, like you said, Trish said a million times, like we weren't born with that. Where did we learn it? And then where did they learn it from? And these stories just really acknowledging and breaking down that they're just not true. They're just not true. They're perspectives and perceptions on whose opinion matters more.
Ding, ding, ding.
So, and actually, of course, it's our mother's thoughts in the womb that probably have the biggest impact. But in epigenetics, we learned that we actually receive a genetic download of the trauma of our ancestors going back at least 7 generations. That's 350 people, 350 lives going all the way back to the 1800s or even earlier. So we're talking famine, rape, war, murder, massacres, just about every imaginable human trauma we actually have inside of our little baby bodies before we're even born.
Yeah.
Literally changes the DNA.
It does. I gotta say, what you're actually, one of the things that is relevant to your reference there is it's actually in the Bible. So I want to say, was it Cain and, oh gosh, I'm not gonna get it right because I'm not a Bible expert, but the conversation is that your family will be cursed for 7 generations out. So anything bad that you do or that happens is going to curse your lineage. And I thought that was really, really fascinating and powerful. I mean, it's not just, what we do bad, but it's like what happens around us and how that happens. One of the things that I'm very, very present to is that as an African American, we're only 3 generations out from slavery.
Right.
Like, we're not even really halfway there. And that's one of the things, yeah.
Wow.
If
Wow.
we acknowledge like how close that is, it's, yeah, it can be quite shocking.
I think, by the way, it was Cain and Abel.
Thank you.
When Cain killed Abel, he was cursed by God, because back there, that's the angry Jehovah. I tell you, of all the gods out there, I'm not interested in Jehovah. He's too pissed of a God for me.
Oh.
He's an angry God.
That was my guess too, and I didn't say it.
But it is interesting. Thank you for pointing that out, because I've never made that association about what we've learned in epigenetics and that quote from the Bible. So thank you for that. That's interesting. Did you read Sylvia's story, and do you want to comment on that, Trish? What Sylvia revealed was that she knows.
Is that something that was shared, is to share publicly?
It's right there right now.
No, Scott, it was sent to you privately.
Oh, so you don't want that mentioned?
So what I would like to kind of
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. It's private. I apologize.
One of the things, so I love this Melody Beattie quote that someone dropped in. It says, "Today I will learn to reject shame. Shame is an overwhelming sense that who I am isn't good enough. And I realize that I am good enough and that my imperfections are part of a human being, or of being human. I let go of shame." The only part of that I don't like is the rejection piece. That the more we choose to reject aspects of ourselves, even all that chit chattery, whatever it is, even that is a rejection of self, because that still lives there. And again, the more we reject ourselves, the more we tell ourselves in the world that, again, the more we tell ourselves that parts of us aren't good enough, the more we say that isn't lovable. And in the world we're moving towards is that where all people are lovable. I am lovable just as I am. You are worthy of love, dignity, and respect just for existing. You woke up in your body worthy of love, dignity, and respect. Period. And so when we reject those pieces, then we're still telling people that. And it's also not, it's telling us that our needs are not worthy, right? So when we say, oh, I'm really jealous of so-and-so's success. Well, if I turn it on the inside of that, of me, well, what is it? Is it really them? No, it's not really them. It's really me. What do I want? What's the thing that I want? Am I really wanting their, God knows, whatever, like big house and 15 dogs? Well, maybe the 15 dogs. Okay, but but the big house and the 15 dogs and the amazing relationship or what? Do I really want that, or is it really something in me that's like desiring safety, security, home? Like, what is under that? What is under the feelings of the shame? What's under the feelings of the jealousy or the envy?
I love that. I love that. I want to throw one more wrench in the fire there. So, looking at jealousy, the things that we have that issue with in other people reflected on ourselves, if we flip jealousy around, it's actually admiration. Every single person I've ever been jealous of, ever felt any particular way about, when I step back and I look at it, I was like, oh my God, I'm inspired by them. I'm impressed with them. I'm annoyed with them because I don't have what they have, damn it. Sorry, I didn't mean to curse. But like being in awe of what they've created or who they are. And so I just want to put that out there because it's really easy to miss that little like flip of the coin.
There's several comments I want to read that have come in. Kind of working backwards, Sylvia just wrote, thank you, Trish. That acceptance, embracing is part of the repatterning that I was asking about. George Noble wrote, we're all ashamed for having left Eden. The natural world, IMO, shamanism, gives us the best tools I know for envisioning ourselves as part of nature. Next might come natural building and community gardening. Kiki writes, our true God has no judgment and does not curse his people. He is a God of love. Right on. That's the one that I'm interested in. Dorina writes, I agree with you, Trish. Becoming aware and letting go is the part I resonate with, not the reject part of shame. And Dorina goes on to write, these days, I find myself abstaining from sharing in public successes, positive happenings, and important wins because of concern that they will cause more jealousy and envy than genuine happiness and support. Still working to dissolve that tendency and pattern while discerning when and what to share and why. Any reflections on that?
I think that discernment is a really amazing, amazing thing. You know, you can't just share everything with everyone. And like what instantly popped into my head is this meme that's rolling around that I can't actually say out loud, but it's something like, maybe if you feel like crap all the time, that it's maybe the people, maybe you're hanging out with a-holes. And I was like, oh, and I started to think about that and like, oh, if someone is not wanting to celebrate my success or sit with me in my deepest, maybe those aren't the people that I want to invest my everything in. And there's no shame in choosing when and how to share. You know, if I know that, and this would never happen, if I knew that Scott would be like, oh God, Trish is like financially, independent and she's got all the things that she wants in her, she's relaxed and she's got all the stuff. And he's like, Mrr. Would I want to share that with him? No. I would share things that he could relate to. I could actually meet him where he's at and share with him then. But I mean, I don't know about anybody else. Do you want to cultivate and invest your time and energy into people who maybe can't meet you there? And that's okay. It's okay to show up in discernment up there.
Yeah.
Yogananda said that discernment is the last primary lesson for master souls, that as we mature, learning discernment, when to get involved, who to get involved with. So I agree. And discernment is a wonderful alternative to judgment, right? Right. We don't have to ever judge. We can just discern.
Scott, can you tell the Jane, is it Jane Goodall? No, that's not it. Oh God, there's a story that runs through my head constantly about discernment and about the your board of your personal board of directors. She's an activist. You worked with her. You went to her.
Oh, Jane Fonda.
Yes. Okay, there was a Jane. Okay, sorry. Can you tell that story? It's a really good story about discernment.
Well, I'm wondering which one it is. For context, I worked with Jane Fonda for 11 years. I ran a camp at her ranch in Santa Barbara. And it may be the story that she taught that we have to change ourselves every 5 or 7 years. Otherwise, we become a parody of ourself. So there's that story. Or it may be, oh, I know what it was. Okay. So Jane and I are on a hike with our dogs. And I asked her, Jane, right now, as we're talking, and this is back when she was the top female box office star in the world. She was doing all the aerobics videos. She had a lot going on. And I pointed that out. I said, how do you manage millions of people watching your movies? Some people love you. Some people think you're a communist. Some people hate you because of the Hanoi Jane mistaken perspective that Fox News likes to promote. How are you dealing with all of that? And she said, I listen to very few people. I choose 3 to 5 people that I really respect, who are knowledgeable about each element of my life. Who are the people that I respect that I really want to hear what they have to say about my marriage? Who are the people I really respect that I want to get their opinion on a screenplay before I agree to do it as a movie? Who are the people I really respect on business? And I only listen to the 3 to 5 advisors that I've selected for each part of my life. And everything else is just noise that I don't pay attention to. And this is a woman who has accomplished so much in her life. She's created recently an amazing nonprofit organization that's made a huge difference in reducing adolescent pregnancy, primarily working with people of color in the South, based out of Atlanta. She's raised millions and millions for amazing organizations. And she's an actress, and she works, and she's a mother, and she's a grandmother, and she's one of the most amazing human beings I've ever known. So thank you. It took me a minute to remember the story, but that's what it was.
I kind of put you on the spot and did not set it up right, so it's all good.
Kiki writes, the God you read about that judges and persecutes is a God created out of religion that has been rewritten by those religious fathers that wanted to control the congregation. Absolutely. They took Jesus's beloved, Mary Magdalene, and turned her into a prostitute, for heaven's sakes, right? Anyway, don't get me started. We do shows on Mary Magdalene, so we'll get to that during the Magdalene Feast show. Jeffrey Colbrook writes, there are so many amazing souls that I got to hang out with that if I was jealous of their superior wisdom, I would not have the benefit of the wisdom and talent. And funny, too. Good one. Thank you, Jeffrey.
Love it. I wanted to just note something on discernment that I really got out of this conversation, which is discernment is you meeting you where you are.
Mm-hmm.
That felt good. I also love, Jeffrey, what you were just saying about the amazing souls and getting to hang out with them. It shifts our perspective. Jealousy shifts the entire way that we interact and engage with the world. And I know for myself, I deal with social anxiety occasionally, and so like I'll be out and all of a sudden I'm no longer in the experience with the people I'm there with, and I'm busy judging myself and what I said and what I did, and did I step the wrong way, just really weird little things, and I'm doing it in a comparison to all the people that are around me, and I separate myself from their amazingness and their beauty. I only hang out with amazing people, and like got to be able to see it to know that they're amazing. And also, you are the sum total of the people you spend your time with. So,
Yes.
So, thank you, first of all, for being vulnerable and sharing a little bit about some of what you work with. So, I really appreciate that very much. What are some examples, either from personal life or from coaching? And this is a question to both of you, where you've helped somebody. What are some practical tools or ways you've helped people manage traditional or common shame stories?
oh, this is good. So, um, gosh, so this one is one of my absolute favorite exercises in my workshops. I do what's called the forgiveness list, and I encourage everyone out there, do try this at home. So what you do is you sit down and you write out all of the nastiest things you've ever thought about yourself, like the dirt, the filth, the garbage, anything that you said or you heard or whatnot that made you feel small and unloved and unappreciated and ashamed of who you are. Get them out. Write until you can't write anymore. And then I want you to take that list and I want you to preface every single thing with, I forgive myself for. And then go to the next line item and say, I forgive myself for, and then fill in the blank. And the beauty of that is that you begin to see that these things that you feel and think and like hate about yourself aren't actually your fault, your story. They're not, to hold that blame. It's something that happened. And also in that space of actually healing it, to forgive oneself.
Yes.
I like to tell people, because I'm in the change business, we're all coaches, and people come to us for change. They want us to change their spouse. And then we kind of say, well, that's not what we're here to do. But seriously, true change is built on a foundation of acceptance. We have to start by accepting exactly where I am, where you are. We have to accept what has happened. We can't change the past, but we can change our relationship to the past. We can change our interpretation of the past. Kind of what we were talking about earlier, there's something traumatic that happens in childhood or in our life. And there's an interpretation made that this is the way all men are, or the way that all Black people are, or the way that all white men are, or whatever it is. And then at a certain point, we go into discernment of, wow, is that belief really serving me? Is that belief really serving me? And it may have served us initially. It may have served us at the time. Most toxic beliefs or even addictions started as a really good idea, right? When we were 15 and we didn't know if we had the courage to kiss the girl, it was a pretty good idea to drink some alcohol before we did that, right? Because we had the courage to kiss the girl, right? Just using a crazy example, but then at a certain point, learning that, okay, drinking before making big decisions is not a good idea, right? It starts as a good idea. At the time, given not an objective, mature perspective, but who we were when we were 10 years old, or 12 years old, or 15 years old, or 5 years old, when the thing happened and we interpreted it to mean whatever we interpreted it to mean, right?
Yeah. I think these things are all designed to keep us safe. Like you were saying, the story about, every 5 to 7 years, you got to change yourself or you become a parody of yourself. We grow and we evolve, and so do our shames and our triggers and the way that we respond and react to them. And so to be able to look and say, like, what serves me and what no longer serves me. I think that's a beautiful practice. Gosh.
Trish, I love what you just wrote. Would you please say it out loud?
Taking in new information and making the changes based on that new information is necessary for growth and evolution.
Mhm.
Like, again, it's part of the, what's the line? Doing something over and over and over again. For
Expecting results.
Yeah, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result.
Well, this is why we're doing the show. This is why we all teach. This is why we all coach. This is why we're all here, is to learn new information so that we can keep dissolving the filters between you and me, between love, like to really dissolve those separations of love.
Mhm.
You know, speaking of new situations, just before we started the show, I was really excited to learn about something that Nika turned us on to, and that is the Global Sexual Health and Freedom Summit. And I definitely want to promote this and see if we can get some of the speakers to be on the show, you know, sometime in February. Tell us about, and I love these beautiful images. I mean, look at that. That is so beautiful. Really great choices of photographs and images. So, Nika, tell us about this summit and what's going to be happening.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, the Global Sexual Health and Freedom Summit is going to be happening February 4th and 5th, 2023. And what we're doing is we're bringing together a conversation, a global conversation, to empower us around what it means to be human. And looking at that from perspectives that impact who we are in our sexuality, how that impacts our health, our mental health, how we move in our bodies. And it's really going to be beautiful. We're looking at providing something for everyone in every community. So we have a gerontology expert that's going to be leading a panel on actually like creating a long-term sex plan, like for your life. Like, how am I going to, enjoy pleasure and desire and fun as I grow in my body and as it develops and changes? Because that's what's happening. We're becoming new beings each day, each time, and all of our experiences are going to be different. We also have some amazing people who are going to be speaking on awareness and from moving from shame to empowerment. We've got just a beautiful collection. There's going to be 14 speakers, and we really are looking to change the world. So you can register for that at sexhealthsummit.com. And please go do that. Go do that soon. We've got some deals and some specials on right now. So get those before they run out. And I would love to have you. I'd love to see you there.
Absolutely. Let's do this, you guys. And actually, since it's the first weekend in February, we'll have to do something in mid-January to promote it. So let's definitely move forward with that. That looks great. And it's just, I'm really appreciating that it's such a nice diversity of populations that you're supporting. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, we're getting ready to wind down, but I definitely want to see if anybody has any final thoughts, comments, or questions. And one of the things that's wonderful is Trish is back, and I'm so excited. And Trish, I want you to tell us a little bit about what you're up to, because you've created something pretty cool and special here.
So I'll tell you a little background. Many of my clients are hitting pretty big jealousy, shame, insecurity places where we're putting out fires in the session. And I was like, oh, there's so many tools that can help you in this moment, but we never get there because you're in a trauma state or in a trigger state. So I developed a 6-week with a bonus 7-week class called Self-Secure, Loving Our Insecurities and Cultivating Self-Reliance. And one of the pieces about this is to really retrain your nervous system and your brain to lean into yourself and to be able to effectively communicate what it is that you want. So some of the headlines are the modules are Know Thyself, where you get to learn, of course, the self-empathy tool and a bunch of other things around what it feels like to be in your yes and no. Personal responsibility, how to take accountability for when you mess up, unlearning relational conditioning, communication skills, grieving the fantasy, trusting the process, how to fuck up with love, and the bonus class about go slow, get far, which is really moving at the pace of a regulated nervous system. So if you are interested in signing up for that, that'll start in January 9th.
Take a
I think-
look.
Oh, it's not on there. Or maybe,
okay.
I don't know. It's on January 9th. I just want to make sure because I changed it. Maybe. Yeah. Monday.
And, all right, if we sign up, there we go. Early bird discount. Thank you so much, Trish. It's great to have you back on the show. And thank you for the wonderful work that you do. And a reminder for anybody who doesn't know, Trish also does the Self-Love Show. And the Self-Love Show is every Thursday morning at 10 o'clock Pacific time. It's a wonderful, wonderful service, really, to the community. She does it with her partner, Dawn Light. You can learn all about it by just go to Facebook. Many of you are on Facebook, and just put in Self-Love Show. And you can go. And also, you guys, people can watch the replays. You've got the recordings, yeah?
You can find it on YouTube, and it's also a podcast. And if you didn't know, it's on literally every podcast platform. And guess who else? Guess what else? We've had Nika on. Just
Yes, and likewise.
I've been on your podcast too. Oh yeah. Oh wait, what did we talk about? I can't remember. Anyway.
Don't make me think that hard right now.
Kiki,
Oh my
Kiki is writing, we love Trish. Yes, we do. And Omashar writes, I find that when there's new information, sometimes the background noise that doesn't want me to change turns its volume up. Great way of putting it, Omashar. Maybe that's where shaking and tapping can help.
Addressing it and acknowledging it also just really helps. It's like, I want this, and this is not. Like, my patterning has a grip on me. Like, sometimes just that awareness and talking about it with people, I know that's a crazy part, huh? Talking about it with other people that you can trust, discerning. Like, do your shaking and your tapping, and then tell other people, like, hey, accountability is a really important piece. Like, if I want to make changes to something that I've been patterned with, or my clients have been patterned with for 40, 60 years, and when I say, oh yeah, just do this, they're like, yeah, it's going to take time. And being really kind and gentle with yourself around the changes you're going to make, because it's going to hold on. It like touches your reality when you want to make changes. It touches your reality when you want to get out of shame or out of jealousy moments. It literally rocks your reality. So be gentle there.
Beautiful. Nika, I want to just direct people to your Linktree. And so again, of course, we've had so many guests that use Linktree, but for anybody who's new, a wonderful way for someone like Nika, who's got so many things that she's doing, who is involved in so many different projects, you go to Linktree, and it's linktr.ee/ and then her name, Nika Cherrell, NikaCherrelle, double R's, double L's. And when you go there, there's all sorts of good stuff. Video interview, her podcast, a really fun little toy. Go check out the Nikita toy. She does coaching sessions, her YouTube channel, podcast. But I want to focus on her Patreon page. We support a lot of people. We support John and Summer Raymer, Kristen Hoffman, Nina Porter, Nina Gray, Cornflower, all through Patreon, and it's a great way. So if you're really appreciating the work that Nika is doing, join. I'm going to join. I'm going to become a supporter. I'm going to become a community catalyst. That sounds pretty good.
Yes.
So I'm going to become a community catalyst. There we go. I just joined. And it's really easy. In this way, she knows that she's going to have a certain amount of money coming in every month. Yay, I'm a patron of Nika Cherrelle. Awesome sauce.
Welcome.
Wow, my pleasure. And thank you, Nika. Thank you for the wonderful work you're doing in this world. I really, really appreciate the courage to stay compassionate while teaching on these really, really difficult topics. And Sylvia wants to know, Nika and Trish, what are your pronouns?
Oh, thank you for asking. My pronouns are they, them. I am gender nonconforming, and I really am empowered by the conversation of equality and equity. So, they, them. Thank you.
And Trish?
I'm still in this place where I don't care what you call me because I know where I am. Her, him, it, whatever. I
Great.
don't care. Like your perspective on my pronouns. But thank you for asking. I'm like, whatever.
Human.
Oh, great. All right. Well, I also want to let people know what's happening this weekend. I mentioned it very briefly at the beginning, but tomorrow, all about the science and art of love. We talk about love on this show a lot, but there's an actual science to it and an art to it. And world-renowned Dr. Rulin Q is going to be with us, and she's brought several of her master teachers. And we're collaborating once again with Teresa Collins and several musical artists. I don't know them. They're all part of this organization. So we're going to have a lot of wonderful musical artists. And of course, Omar Shah, although he's not on the poster, but Omar Shah will be with us. And then, and speaking of Omar Shah, we are going to close tonight with an Omar Shah song. All things begin and end with Omar Shah. And then on Sunday, these two wonderful women that have both recently published books about the ancient goddess wisdom. Joanna's book is all about the goddess Inanna, and Shiana's book is all about what the ancient goddesses can teach us about Eros before all those white patriarchal guys got involved and screwed it all up. I can say that because I'm a white guy. It's going to be a really fun show on Sunday and tomorrow night. So please do join us. And then finally, for those of you who are going home for the holidays or are going to be dealing with the challenges that come up with the holidays, I want to invite you to come to my relationship satsang group tomorrow or every Saturday. This is a way that people can get great coaching from Scott. Sometimes Trish is there, recently Paul Sterling, Katrina Valancourt, all members of Love Coach Academy kind of drop in. And we take very real issues and challenges that people are having, and we talk about them and we deal with them and we provide tips, tools, practices. And I'm definitely going to be focusing tomorrow on coping with the holidays. And there's a lot of different challenges that come up. There can be the challenge of feeling alone on the holidays and not having relatives to deal with. There are the challenges of having to go deal with relatives, right? And family members that have very radically different political beliefs or social beliefs or racial beliefs, cultural beliefs. How do we manage that? How do we manage those differences without repeating the same old fights or the triggers or the shame stories or the blame stories? Discernment. So join us Saturday mornings, 10 o'clock Pacific time, and I'll put into the chat box the link of how you can deal with that. Yes, Doreen, I'll post the link there. I see Beatrice just wrote something, so I am going to read it and see if either of you want to address it. Dia, who's one of our regulars, we love Dia. She writes, the dance I've been engaged in all during the show is keeping me in stitches. My density 3D ego keeps piping in, Dia, you know all this stuff. Why spend your time listening again? But right at my ripe old age of 100 years old in 23 years, which would make her 77, pops in and reminds me that whatever I think I already know is the very thing that I want to know. It's pretty funny, yes? So thank you, love you all so much, namaste. Thank you, Dia. Anything that either of you want to respond to with Dia there? No?
Would you like to share, Nika?
Nika, you're muted.
I apologize. I actually I'm so sorry. I missed that from Dia. I apologize.
That's quite all right. Take it away, Trish.
Ah, I what I really want to say is even it takes 7 to 10 times of learning something to actually get it. And yes, the logical brain will know it and still not embody it. And again, if we're habituated for years and years and years to behave in a certain way, it still will creep back in. It's a consistent and constant practice.
Mhm.
Talk about relationships, that song. What I want to say a special thank you to Mika for being like spontaneous and totally like coming on the show. I'm like, hey, you want to do this thing? And you being just a yeah to it. And I also think that you have something else tonight, right? Do you have another something tonight?
Another something. Oh, another share.
Another talk.
Another talk. Oh, earlier today, you're talking about the Home for the Holidays special. No, it's okay. It's okay. It is on YouTube. And I'm so glad you actually mentioned that. So speaking about the holidays, we did a episode on our show earlier today. So I'm the host of the It Cast, Real Talk on Sex, and we focus on increasing diversity in conversations on health and sexuality. So our Home for the Holidays episode, we actually focused on providing resources for survivors of childhood sexual abuse. And we really brought that conversation together of what's it like to go home and be in that space with people who may have harmed you, and how do you heal from that? It was so beautiful. There was something you said earlier, Scott, that reminded me of something that came up on the show about how the nervous system actually shuts down when you go through trauma and trigger. And we went over like the science and like what happens to your body in that space. We have steps and resources and tools, and it really is just a wonderful show. You can find that on my YouTube channel, and we are also across all audio platforms, and really great to be serving the community.
Beautiful. So here is her YouTube channel, everybody. The It Cast with Nika Sherrill, new podcast every Friday. I'll put the channel link into the chat box. And
Hey, look at that person right there. Don Light was on.
Dawn Light. All right. All right. Cool. And I love this, how to talk to kids about gender. That's a good one. Wow. Beautiful, beautiful talks here. Wonderful. Wow. All right. Well, thank you. What a pleasure to meet you, Nika. Thanks for being on the show, and certainly would love to stay in close contact with you. Thank you so much. And I will now, because I'm a Patreon member, so you can't get rid of me.
Wouldn't want to if I could.
All right. Thank you, Trish. It's great to see you again. And thanks for being with us. And I'm going to turn it over to beloved brother Omoshar.
Well, holy smoke, what a beautiful, beautiful night. And it's interesting with me in that I'm watching my own comeuppance right here, because whenever the topic got juicy, I noticed myself trying to distract myself. Real time, it's like, what? Dude, get focused. And also what Dia was saying, again, is, I know most of us know this information intrinsically, but we do. I need to hear it again and again and again and again until it consumes me, because it's so important. We're all changing right now. We're in the awakening world, and this is where we can actually speak out and say, "Oh, it's my bad." And I've changed the song that I'm going to sing at the out, because the topic, the conversation just has brought this into my focus. And I apologize for the distortion in my beginning song. I pressed the wrong button, but hey, my buttons needed to be pressed. So Nika, lovely to meet you. Trish, you're awesome. Scott, you're a dude. And
I am a dude.
yes, you are. A beautiful, different word for what I was going to use, but
I know I have long hair, but I am a dude. Okay.
you're I've lived too long in Hawaii. In Hawaii, everyone's dude and dudette. So I'm getting excited here. So let's just go straight into the song. And Jeffrey, you ready? Dearly beloved. Not that one. Just when you think that all is lost, and the curtain looks to fall, perhaps it's just the song of home that calls, and you trust in life exposed. No need to sit around and mope. Where there is love, there's always hope. Trust in your life and you will see that you reflect as me. Another day is here for you to live, and I'll walk it through with you. There is no doubt your heart is pure and true, so I came to remind you. No need to sit around and mope. Where there is love, there's always hope. Trust in your life and you will see that you reflect as me. I am in all that you will see. Have trust in your life and trust in me. Dust yourself down and I'll lift you up. I will fill your loving cup. Just when you thought that all was lost, I came to remind you. No need to sit around and mope. Where there is love, there's always hope. Trust in your life and you will see that you reflect as me.
Hey, everybody, let's go to Gallery View and twinkle him, give him some love. Thank you so much. Beautiful, beautiful Omashar. Thank you so much.
Thank you. My cup is full. Thank you, Trish. Thank you, Nika. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Global Peace Tribe.
Thank you, everybody. We will see you hopefully tomorrow morning for Relationship Satsang, tomorrow night for the Awakening World. Have a beautiful evening. Good night, everybody.